Hello, good evening, and welcome to our Discord AMA. This is, I tell you what, I'm going to start that all again with the people in the voice lounge actually able to hear me. And let me prepare a couple of things. There you go. Let's try that. All right, start again. Sorry to those of you who are watching live on YouTube. By the way, if you're on YouTube, you're better off going over to our Discord server because that is where you're going to get much more interesting things is going on because you can join in. Okay, I'm going to start speaking to them. Hey guys, good evening. Welcome to this here AMA. Who have we got here in voice this evening?
How you doing, bud?
Hey, who's that?
Speaking Craniums over here from Asheville, North Carolina.
Wonderful. Where's everybody else from?
Start again.
Shout out your place. To those of you who are watching live on
Norway.
YouTube. By the way, whoever's got the feedback, can they mute? Can they sort it out, or we have to mute? And you're going to get much more interesting things is going on because you can join in. Okay, I'm going to
Green Bay,
start with me.
Wisconsin here.
Hey guys, good evening. Welcome to this here AMA. Who have we
Seattle.
got here in voice?
I'm from Michigan, USA.
How you doing, bud?
England. Hey, who's that? Cool, guys. So I'm feeding back horribly in somebody's
Asheville, North
speakers. I'm not
Carolina.
sure who it is. Wonderful. Where's everybody else from?
Start again.
Shout out your place. To those of you who are watching live on
Norway.
YouTube. By the way, whoever's got the feedback, can they mute? Can they sort it out, or we have to mute? I'm just looking for the source of this feedback. Give me a second. Going on because you can join in. Okay, I'm going to
Green Bay,
start with me.
Wisconsin here.
Hey guys, good evening. This here AMA. Who have we
Seattle.
got here in voice?
I'm from Michigan, USA.
How you doing, bud?
Good guys, I'll be with you just in 2 seconds. I'm trying to find the source of this feedback. I don't know if it's one of you
Asheville, North
guys.
Carolina.
Found it. It was YouTube. Okay, that is cool. So I'll be with you over on Discord. Now, so we're streaming live to YouTube at the same time, mainly so that it can record it for us. But of course, you're much better here because you can actually join in. Thank you, Blaze, for starting the questions. Remember that QSTN is how to prefix your questions. Otherwise, I will never find them in the noise as this thing hots up. Normally, it takes you guys a little while to get into the spirit of things. Before we start, I just want to give you an overview. I'm going to be welcoming you in, which we've done. Then I'm going to tell you about GameDev.tv by the numbers. We've got a whole load of numbers that I've interestingly want to talk you through. And then an update on the RPG, other projects, and then we'll go through to the Q&A. So let's just tell you about some cool numbers, guys. We have three. Firstly, I want to start with the lowest number, but arguably some of the most loyal people. We have 349 lifetime members now. They've all come in during the Kickstarters, so big shout out to the lifetime members. Come on, somebody shout out to the lifetime members.
Ooh!
Oh, yay!
Awesome. Okay, so working up the numbers, we have 543 Twitter followers. That's kind of pathetic for where we are. So if we can get some more Twitter followers, that would be awesome. Let me just see if I can send you that. Nope. It's at GameDev.tv anyway. On Twitter, so let's get some more Twitter followers. That'd be cool. So then what do we got next? What's the next big number? 1,000 people online on Discord. Well, I wrote that down presumptuously. Have we got 1,000 people? Yes, 1,004. That needs another cheer. Over 1,000 people on simultaneously in just about a month.
How's that?
Yay!
You guys are great. Okay, so we have over 2,700 members on the Blender Facebook group. So let me give you the link to that if you're not on there already. Oh, if I can type. Somebody else will have done it before me. Blender course. There you go. There's the Blender Facebook group. Over 2,700 members. We've got over 3,000 members on the Unreal Facebook group. So I'll just give you the link to that. And we have 4,000 members on the Unity Facebook group. Thanks to Rob for pointing that out. Who knows Rob Mead? I asked last time. Rob Mead's great. He's actually going to be working with us a bit more closely. Rob is the man. Okay, so next big number comes 10,000 users on the forum. Remember the forum, community.gamedev.tv. I'm just spraying links out. This is not going to last too long. I know it sounds painful. We have 11,000 members on our email list. Those of you who are on the email list, notice we hardly ever send anything because we want to be respectful of the people who are on there. We frankly don't know which courses you're on, so we don't know what courses to recommend to you, so we don't say very much on there. But anything new, any big Kickstarters, any major news, we do announce there. So if you want to get on that mail list, please do. And here is the URL. That's giving you some special pre-filled options for interest in Unity, but you can change those interests. We have over 36,000 reviews on Udemy. We have over 200,000 students on Udemy very recently. 378,900 forum views every month. And the other big figure is that the Unity course has now sold over $1 million of sales. So, wow, that is GameDev.tv by the numbers. So, this isn't about all about me talking. Any questions on that, guys?
Congratulations, buddy.
Thank you. Who's that?
Yeah.
Old Asheville, North Carolina again.
Hello, North Carolina. Good to have a whole American state on the line with us. So the major thing that's keeping me busy is the Unity RPG project. We've got a launch date for that. It's going to launch on the 18th of March. So not long from now at all. We're busily working with the early access members to get the early parts of the course shaped up. It's about 6 hours of content already, and it's the most detailed, in-depth course we've ever produced. It's going to end up being more like 60 hours. So get into that early when we announce it. Obviously, make sure you're opted into the Udemy announcements, because that's the best way for us to let us know what's coming out, because we can be sure we only tell you about stuff that you're not already on. We hate the idea of advertising a course to you that you've already got. It just feels spammy to me. So what's going on in other projects? Loads of stuff. Mikey has recently released the Assets course, which is the Blender to Unity Assets Pipeline course. Shows you how to get your models over from Blender to Unity. So that is here. And I think this is nearly the end of my announcements. Of course, there's Rick's Get a Job course, which is going down beautifully. So I'm not sure what my short code for it is. Probably that. There you go. That's it. That's what's keeping us busy. So, guys, we're just going to the main thrust of this, which is questions and answers. I'm going to give preference to voice questions because it's more fun. And then I'll look through the text questions. So any voice questions to start with?
Is mayonnaise an instrument?
What, your voice is your amazing instrument?
I have a question real quick, Ben.
Yeah, cool.
At the beginning of the at the beginning of the Bowlmaster section, there's a link to the Blender course, and it has a coupon code associated with it. Sorry, I know this is a little off topic, but the coupon code doesn't work anymore. The Unity Student Special or something like that. And I was looking to sign up for the Blender course, and I don't have $200 to drop. Sorry, Michael.
Oh, no worries. So firstly, we run a perpetual offer via completeblendercreator.com. So that's one way of doing it. The other thing is that if you could just drop me a note in the Q&A against that lecture, we'll be sure to fix it. And the final thing is, I'm pretty sure that coupon code is just take the last word off. If it's Unity Student Blender or something like that, just take the last word off.
Okay, thank you.
And that should work for you. So there's 3 solutions there. Cool. Anyone else with any remarkable questions? Before I dive.
Hello, Ben.
Hello.
I have a question.
Who's that?
My name is Eric. I'm from Hamburg, Germany.
Awesome. Hello, Germany.
Hello. So I just posted a question right there. I wanted to get into VR, and I wanted to know your thoughts on getting one of the VR sets out there. Basically because they're really expensive, and I just wanted to know what you think. Should I wait, or should I get into this at the moment?
Depends for what purpose. If you're wanting to get ahead of the game and release a game experience before other people do, then obviously do it now. Are you talking about for personal use or for the purposes of developing commercially for other people to buy your games?
It's only for learning purposes at the moment.
For you, learning. Okay, so there's 3 different questions then. There's VR for learning, there's VR for personal consumption, and there's VR for earning. So learning, earning,
Exactly.
let's call it learning, earning, or yearning, if you like. So for learning, then it's not going to make any difference, really. You can dive in with a Google Cardboard or a Gear VR. That's going to tell you about 3-axis VR, i.e., panning and tilting. If you want to learn about 6-axis VR, where you can translate your head, you're looking at the big boys are obviously Oculus and Vive. And then there's hand controllers to be considered with those as well. For earning, the best time is now, because people are paying, idiots like me who've got a Vive are paying a fortune to buy silly little experiences for 15 quid that only last a little while, because it's all novel and there's hardly any content out there. So for earning, do it now. For learning, do it now. For yearning, for the consumer experience, just for the fun of it, then I would say at this stage, I would consider waiting till the next jump in resolution. Because they are amazing, particularly the Vive, because of its room scale nature. But that resolution is just a little bit limited. It's like it's the equivalent of 1080p spread out over 120 or about 100 degrees, which is like sitting with at arm's length from a 50-inch TV or something. It's kind of crazy. So it's pretty low res in terms of pixels per solid angle. So I would hang on if it's for personal use only. Otherwise, if it's for learning, dive in. Dive in with the cheap stuff. There's loads of other options there, as people will be posting. And also, don't forget PlayStation VR. I think that's going to be the thing that really breaks the ice, because it's amazing value for money, unbeatable.
Thanks a lot.
No worries. Blaze has got a text question at 8:01. I better take a few text questions. What are good ways for publicity in the game I'm making? Talk about it a lot, get people excited, make it really easy for them to engage with what you're sharing with them. That is, don't ask them to download, to play a web build that will only work on Firefox. Rather, just give them a short video to entice them, and then maybe ask them to do an itch.io WebGL build, and make sure that the first step they have to take is really simple. So screenshot to video to WebGL build, etc. So get them engaged with the game. Facebook groups, go and ask for permission on the Indie Game Developers group over on here, over on our community, on our forums. The best way to get really good publicity is just to make a great mini prototype of the core experience and get people playing it and make people rave about it. That's going to do better than a lot of other things for you. So I don't know if that answers your question, Blaze, or gives you a few things to get on with, or whether you're going to respond in voice. Eagerly. No worries. Okay. So will we be learning to use asset bundles as part of the RPG course? Yes, Azure. We've already got content in there that does that. I'm frantically making little mini asset bundles, like player health bars, enemy health bars, like camera follow scripts, like all sorts of stuff like that. Like a camera raycaster that determines what type of thing your cursor's over, so it can change from a sword to a, whatever. So yeah, we'll be using that extensively. Practically every lecture you import an asset bundle, particularly ones that we've made, but later ones that you guys, students, have made as well. Citron, and then I'll take one more question in text, then I'll take a voice. Citron, I have a problem with the latest version of Unity 5. When he builds for Linux, the FPS is really low. He's tried everything. My question is, okay to use the latest version of Unity for... Yeah, so sure, use the latest version of Unity 4 for what, Citron? You might need to either talk in voice if you're here, or clarify your question. For the course, for the Unity course, you can use Unity 4.6 or Unity 5. You may have to make a few changes if you use Unity 5. For making an actual game, you could still use Unity 4. It depends what platforms you're targeting. So, and I'm not aware of these specific performance issues under Linux. Are you specifically targeting Linux as a platform, maybe? So maybe just put another question in with a bit more clarification. Cliffman says, how did I learn Unity? I learned Unity by taking it apart with an expert. I spoke to people at Unity. I had expert developers, and I took it apart bit by bit and taught it to you guys as I did it. So I was teaching the first Unity course just a matter of a few months behind where I was learning it. So that's how I learned it, just by looking under the hood and building projects and teaching you guys. What are the limits? Oh, I said, hold on, I said I'll take a voice question. Voice question, any voice questions?
Hey, Ben, this is Clayton in Iowa. I made it as far as the Bowlmaster piece of your course. Loving it, by the way.
Thank you.
I have the lighting all mucked up, though. Is there a good resource for learning lighting in 3D?
There will be. We will be. So Michael's 3D Model Mastery course, which I pasted a link to earlier, but I'll do it again. We'll be talking about lighting. Already does a moderate amount, preparing UV maps, texture application, getting your lighting into the game. So check out that course. It's just been released. It's got great reviews. The other thing to look at is the Unity RPG course when it launches on the 18th of March. We'll necessarily be going into lighting there. And also I'll be reworking the whole Unity developer course later in the year, and I'll go probably a little bit more into depth in lighting there. So in terms of our material, that's it. Otherwise, check out Unity's official documentation and videos on lighting that might help you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. So I'll ask one more question, and then we'll go back to the... Sorry, I'll ask one more voice question if you guys have got any.
Sure, yeah, it's Justin from Michigan. I'm in your Unreal course, and I'm really enjoying it. I haven't gotten very far because I only have Thursdays and Fridays off. Other days I work. So I was wondering if the Nintendo Switch is said to work directly with the Unreal Engine. Is that something we will be able to, on our own, obviously, at this point, port our code to? Or is that
Yeah, so with the caveat that I haven't used it for that yet, the whole purpose of engines like Unity and Unreal is that you just change the build target, and within reason, the game will work on that new build target. The reality is, to make a good game on any particular platform, it should really be designed from that platform from the ground up. So yes, in essence, you will be able to switch the build target to Switch and fix any error messages you get, and then it should be working on Switch. The reality is you really need to design the game to be a game that suits the Switch, both in terms of visual style, in terms of gameplay style, in terms of graphical fidelity, the whole lot. But yeah, basically the answer is yes, it will work on Switch.
Hey, I have a follow-up question. I know you wanted to go to text questions, but
No, it's okay. I said I give preference to voice.
so have you fooled with the Switch developer kit at all? It sounded like maybe you would.
Not yet. So
No.
for Switch, just go vote on the voting page. And if we keep getting questions about it, I'm kind of waiting to see how well it takes off with the consumers' hands. I know that's chicken and egg, because if us developers don't get on it early, it'll never take off with the consumers. But basically, we've got a lot on our plate, so it's a little bit low down my priority list until I see it fly up that voting board, and then we'll have to start producing initially YouTube content, and then if that takes off and you guys like it, we'd then expand out to further content.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
No worries. I will take a text question. Uzu. I'm going to say Uzumaki. Let's try that. You're saying, what are the limitations of developing in Unreal if compared with Unity, programming-wise? So there is, and somebody will find you the thread on the forum that talks about Unity versus Unreal, or go look for it. But I wouldn't say there are many limitations of developing in Unreal compared to Unity. Unlikely to be able to run up against any limitations there, but the limitation will be an internal one in yourself. It's whether you can handle the complexity and whether you can iterate fast enough in Unreal. So Unreal's a more complex beast to load the mental model of in your head, but it's also it's slower to iterate. You have to compile all the time, right? Especially when you're in C++. So you may find that you get further faster in Unity just because it's easier to use. So that's kind of, it's a bit like, no, I won't make a rubbish analogy. Anyway, that's my basic short answer. I'll answer one more text question, then we'll go back. Nullbot, I think Nullbot, you asked me a question about VR, right? Was that you asked me in voice? Pregnant pause. Had a pause get pregnant. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Cymac, and then we'll take another voice. So any thoughts on Xbox Live Creators Program announced early this week? Could it be something you would like to do content for? Sure, anything I'd like to do content for. Again, going to redirect you guys to the voting page for that. And no, I haven't put a lot of attention into that. But do bear in mind that you guys can, of course, turn Xbox Ones into dev kits very easily, which is good news. So it's a pretty low barrier to entry to at least get started. Can the PSVR headset be attached to PCs? The answer is yes, of course, because you can always find a way of hacking that. But no, I don't think it's designed to be attached to PCs. They're trying to sell consoles and PS4 games at the end of the day. All right, let's see if we can take a voice question. Or not. Okay, Uzumaki said, how can indies publish on PlayStation and Xbox? They're a slightly different process for each. PlayStation are a little bit, they're very supportive of developers, but you need to sign an NDA, and then they take you under their wing and they help you get published. So I would get, somewhat of a game set up in Unity first, and then go and speak to PlayStation. We can't teach you how to publish to PlayStation because they don't want us exposing their process, which is kind of silly. Xbox is a little bit easier, as I said, because anybody can convert their device to a dev kit and pick it up from there. Dennis says, what's the status of the RPG course? Well, I'm spending nearly every waking and sleeping hour building it with Rick over in Australia's help. Where and when will it be available? It will be available from the 18th of this month, both on Udemy, and we'll send a Udemy announcement promo for that. And it'll be, I'm not sure what the promo launch price will be, probably around the $20 mark. Will we have early previews on the YouTube channel? Not particularly early. We did temporarily have content there. We removed it because we haven't got our process of shipping simultaneously to Udemy and YouTube sorted yet, but it will be sorted by then. So it will become available both on Udemy and on the YouTube Premium channel from the middle of this month, the 18th. So yeah, thank you for being glad it funded. The Kickstarter, that is. All right, so okay, Pook. I've got a question here from Pook. This is about Unity, and it's about something in Unity called broadcast message. And it's actually a bit of what I would call minging facility, Pook. if in the Unity RPG course, I've just shipped for the first time content that tells you guys about something called the observer pattern, and I can find you that. If you look for maybe somebody here could go to gameprogrammingpatterns.com and look up the observer pattern and link to that chapter. You can read all about the observer pattern there. In Unity, we can use something called delegates to do a much better job than this horrible broadcast message thing. The idea of something like broadcast message, that I say, for example, a player says, hey, I've hit somebody, or you say, what are we using it for? We're using it for the cursor saying, hey, I moved over a different layer. I was over an enemy, now I'm over the ground. The idea that broadcasts to all the game objects that care, and they can subscribe to know about it and react, like the cursor can change or a sound effect can play, is a brilliant architecture. And it's called an observer pattern. Using that broadcast message thing, I'm not a big fan of because it string references function names. I don't like that. So keep an eye out in the Unity RPG section to a few videos in for the observer pattern. And thank you, Spegly01, for posting that. Is there a method of broadcasting a message that all objects will receive? Yes, use the delegate pattern, the observer pattern that I cover in the Unity RPG. Cliffman, do you recommend coding in Unity using Visual Studio or Mono Develop? If you've got the choice of using Visual Studio, I'd probably use Visual Studio. It's a more up-to-date, it's a more fully featured IDE. So, I'm going to try and find where the latest question is. Any voice questions from you, merry band? Got to be somebody. It doesn't have to be about game dev. It could be about anything.
I have a question.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. How are you doing?
Awesome, thank you.
Would you recommend taking the Unity or the Unreal course if you're a beginner?
If you're a complete beginner, probably start with Unity. It's going to be a little bit easier for you to get into it at the first. It's just Unreal is intrinsically a little bit harder. C++ is an older language, a little bit harder. Unreal is a bit more of a AAA game engine, so I would start with Unity, and when you feel comfortable, just move over to Unreal as well. It's good to have more than one tool under your belt.
What do you personally prefer?
It depends what job I'm trying to get done, to be honest with you. So for quick early prototyping, it's easier to get off the ground in Unity. If you want the thing to be beautiful out the box, Unreal, this is the whole Unity versus Unreal thing again, right? If you know you're going to have advanced AI behavior, particularly when it's going to be humanoid AI, then there's a load of stuff built into Unreal. At the end of the day, Unreal still is built to make Unreal Engine, right? Or other first-person shooters. And whereas it does a good job with lots of other genres of game, if you're making anything remotely related to a first-person or third-person game with humanoids running around and exhibiting AI behavior, then Unreal Tournament. Sorry, Dan. Dan's always there. He's like my wingman, Dan, just correcting me as I make silly slip-ups. So, it's very hard to get away from the fact that Unreal is built to build those games like Unreal Tournament, and it just is baked into the way that it works. So.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Any other question?
So for learning to code, what language would you recommend for trying to learn some of the basics?
I would say English because all the APIs are in English, but I think you mean in what computer language. So
Yeah.
I won't attempt to be a comedian. I'll stick to teaching game development. So for learning to code, with your sights on doing what at the end of the day?
Because I hope to be a game dev. That's
Okay.
just what I want to do.
So then I would probably start in the middle with C#. I mean, look, we can argue this all day. Some people might say start with Python because it's like a really clean language. I love Python. Some people might say start with C++ because it's close to the metal and it tells you how the machine works underneath, but also blows your head up learning it. I would probably just start with C# and then move into C++ once you've got a bit of confidence.
Thank you.
Start with assembly. Yeah, Dan, I'd love to recommend that. I tell you what, a project I will recommend for you guys is something called NAND2 Tetris. Dan, you will love this. Go get your teeth into this. NAND2Tetris.org. We might build a course around it sometime. There it is. I've posted you a link. This starts you from the very components, the D flip-flop and the NAND gate that make up a CPU, and you build you build half adders and arithmetic logic units. You make a CPU. You build the whole lot in software, and you end up even making a compiler and then an operating system, and then eventually you write Tetris, on the operating system, running the compiler that compiles to the code of the hardware of the machine that you built, and it's like, that's what you want to do if you like that sort of stuff. But yeah, you could start with machine code in a hex editor. You would have to be a little sadistic. I think we're beyond that. But it is good eventually to work down to that level. So, somebody, Cymac, is saying, I'm coming to the end of Balls and Cows in the Unreal course. However, I don't think I could reproduce the game on my own. Should I try recreating the game until I can create it from scratch? Or should I continue in the hope that future lectures will clear my understanding? Good question, Cymac. So, firstly, whenever we ask or, it would serve as well as programmers and in life to remember that or means one or the other or both. And normally, both is a better choice, because if you're saying, should I have an ice lolly or a chocolate cake, as my kids would say, both, right? If you always pose an or question from the standpoint that it's one or the other, then that means you have in your mind an assumption that there's a limited supply. So you may be saying, should I recreate the game or carry on? You're kind of asking, what should I do next, right? I've got to do one thing or the other next, it seems. I would probably still say do both. I would say make the game a bit different to what we did in some respect. That's what we see as the people who really succeed, is they change something. Change the game to make it your own. Don't necessarily start it from scratch, no point. Do enough to make you feel like you've got a handle on it and you can change it. Then move on to the next project and the next project. And then if you've got some ideas for Balls and Cows or Building Escape, come back to it and revamp it later. So make small modifications now and big changes later is the short answer. Would be my suggestion. But I just made that up. But I just make everything up and it seems to work out all right. So do we have any more voice questions or shall I ask another text question?
Well, Ben, I have actually a question.
Yeah, of course.
In the Unreal course.
The who course? Unreal?
Unreal course, yeah.
Yep.
Is there any idea to ever make like a multiplayer tutorial?
Not in that course, probably, because it's getting a bit big, and the problem with things getting that big is that nobody gets to the end of it, so we're making content for nobody. But we are very much on top of the idea that people want multiplayer, and when we cover multiplayer, we hope to cover it initially in an engine-agnostic way, and then start thinking about teaching it both in Unity and Unreal, so that is coming. But get yourself up to speed with single-player games first, right? Because multiplayer just introduces a whole new can of worms. The Batman asked, do lifetime members get access to the RPG course? Of course, you should already have access. It's been mailed out by MailChimp a while ago. Do a search on your email, check your spam. You can also find the links to it in the Early Access Lounge of the forum. If you're not in the Early Access Lounge on the forum, then just mention at Lucy Becker, I think that's her name over there, and she will add you. But yeah, there's plenty of those guys right in there now. So, are you still developing a revamped version of the Unity course? Haven't started that yet. We're waiting for Unity 2017 to drop, at least the beta version. Will there be any significant differences? Massive, yes. So, when I look back at the Unity course, as amazing as it is in terms of performance and the number of people on it, it is really old. It's our first ever course, right? So we don't have slides in it. The challenge formats are all off as far as I'm concerned. There's a million things about it that when I look back at it, it's like a model of a car, right? It's an old, reliable, classic car now, basically, the Unity course. When we rebuild it, it's going to take all the learnings and start again. Different projects, better teaching style, and more focus on mobile. So, and I don't know when it'll be out. Summer, I think, is the reality. And it'll be a separate course, and we'll offer it to existing Unity course students at the lowest price we sensibly can, probably around the $10 mark, and then for other people it'll be just a standard Udemy course, and it'll be well worth it, I hope. So, I saw a question there by Anto Holland. Can you just prefix it with QSTN, Ed, so that it comes up in my list on the right-hand side of the screen? Speaking, why do I keep saying spanking? I've done that several times. It really reveals something about my inner workings. Speaker craniums. Why is Brees too good to join us? Brees is not, we don't work with Brees anymore at all, so he's not too good to join us, he's just not here. He was a great chap to work with, but we don't work with him anymore. Another voice question. There's got to be a voice question in there somewhere. Or not. Or just some keystrokes. Okay.
I got one.
Awesome.
It's Justin again. What Unreal games have you personally played?
I'd have to check the list of Unreal games on the Wikipedia site. I can't remember what remarkable Unreal games I've played. I really just can't. I could look it up, but it would be as boring as me looking up the Wikipedia article and looking down it. Unreal Tournament, yes, some years ago. Trying to think, there were a few things. Was Everyone's Gone to the Rapture Unreal? Let me just have a quick look at the list, because it's a fun topic. List of Unreal Engine games. Firstly, I'll paste you the link. There it is. Boom. And then let's look at recent ones. Unreal Engine. Let's look at Unreal Engine 4 only. The Splinter Cells. You've got to love the Splinter Cells. That was Unreal Engine 3, though. Just going to the bottom of this list. Oh, my God. There's a lot of games that have been made in Unreal. It's crazy. So, what else? Oh, this could be the most boring. The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. That one left a mark. They use photogrammetry in that game. Who's played The Vanishing of Ethan Carter? I think it was was it a Polish developer? Pretty amazing. Uses photogrammetry, really, which is where you take photos of the real world and turn it into textures and meshes, and it looks pretty amazing. So, yeah, anyway, I won't bore you with any more of looking through this list, but there's a few of them. Sorry, I can't remember. No, we didn't go to GDC, Pook. I saw that question there. Are you developing any courses? Oh, sorry, I've missed a question. Will the RPG course have multiplayer? No, it won't. We just can't be adding that in as well. Our heads will explode because we're making an actual real game and shipping it to Steam there. That's enough work as it is. So no multiplayer in there. Multiplayer will be dealt with separately. Mostly human. What's the other part, mostly human? If you're on voice, I'd be interested in what, are you part human, part dog, or Alsatian by the looks of it, or is that a husky? I'm not sure. Anyway, are we developing any courses that will take a deep dive into Unity's nav mesh systems, such as iterating through the path corners and whatnot? Yeah, actually, that's just what I'm about to add to the Unity RPG. The NPCs will be, or the enemies will be navigating to us using pathfinding, and we already are culling our pathfinding to disallow off-screen routes and stuff like that. So, yep, we're going to be looking at that in the RPG. How many more lectures in testing grounds of Unreal? Don't know. Probably about 20, but that's a complete guess. We're waiting on enough people getting to the end of what's already there before we push too much more content in there. So, the new course is about exporting models from Blender to Unity. Yeah, at the moment it's about Unity. We may add Unreal later if there's enough demand. Is Unreal better with dealing with Blender exports? Well, not really. I mean, the good thing about Unity is it actually, as long as you have Blender installed, is it can immediately open Blender files. It actually does that by calling Blender as a library and getting it to do an on-the-fly conversion of the blend file to an FBX. But Unreal is not necessarily better at dealing with Blender exports. It's pretty good at dealing with FBX imports. It's got quite a lot of options there. Do we ever go to the GDC? No, no, not yet. If somebody asked us to go and talk about teaching game development there one day or something, we'd make the effort, but it's a long way to go at the moment. I don't know why I've never gone to GDC. I think I'm just lazy with traveling. I didn't even go to Udemy Live, which is terrible. Do you think we can put our information that we learn to the course to our own projects? Any tips? Okay, so how do we apply what you learn in the course to your own projects? Well, start by weaning yourself off our projects, by making our projects your own, I would suggest, and then start to make projects that may be a combination of our projects or that are similar but a bit different. Any of you other students got a suggestion to this chap about how to apply what he learns in the courses to his own projects? Or her? Oh, I could see Obo was tempted to chip in there, but didn't. Okay. Have I seen the new Unity projects using 2D cartoon physics? No, I haven't seen that yet, actually, but that sounds fun. Yeah, 2D physics is all good fun. So, any more voice questions?
So as far as multiplayer goes, just as a concept, from what I understand, I'm just looking for your input on this. From what I understand, basically you need to code the game. Essentially, you need to code it twice and just have it run on different routers. If I remember this one video correctly, is that basically what you do for any engine, or is it different for everyone?
You don't really need to code it twice. No, have a look at. We only just skim the surface of it, but have a look at Ahoy Matey, the section at the end of the Unity course for a basic introduction. It's not really about coding the whole game twice. It's about thinking about whether the server or the host or the client, more specifically, is responsible for holding the game state of which objects and how that's all going to be synchronized around. So Unity and Unreal provide networking layers that help you do this. You don't really make two different games, but you do want to think about the multiplayer aspects from the ground up. Does that help?
Yeah, that actually helps a lot.
Cool. Check out Ahoy Matey. So I'm going to take another voice question, and then the other thing I should mention is the YouTube Premium channel. We have paying subscribers over there, so thank you very much to you paying, whoever you are. Thank you. You've got us off the ground, and it can only go from strength to strength over there on on YouTube, that's the word. Somebody asked on Facebook, what's the deal with YouTube? I'll just reiterate that we're adding all new content to YouTube and Udemy. This is not a move away from Udemy. If we had to drop anything, it would be YouTube. But we are committed now to both YouTube and Udemy. They both have their pros and cons. The main benefits of YouTube for people who are already on Udemy are that it potentially supports 4K HDR streaming. We're not doing any content in that yet, but we may well do shortly. The streaming is much better quality. It's much more stable. It's YouTube after all, but it's only available in 40 countries. Udemy is available in 200 or so. YouTube also, it's a totally different model. If you're a member on YouTube, you get all our content, and when you stop being a member, you get nothing. Whereas on Udemy, you buy a course, you keep it for life. So it's just a totally different concept. The YouTube channel URL is stuffed at the moment. It used to have a nice human readable channel URL. Speglio1 has just pasted the current URL, which will always work, by the way. We're trying to get our original URL back, but it's broken. Dan's asking, am I sure about the lifetime members in the RPG course? Yes, I am sure that Lucy sent it out, but I will ask her to send it again next week, Dan. So yes, I am sure. The other way to get access to it is via the RPG Early Access sub-forum of the forum. So, any more questions? Oh, okay, so mostly humans saying also didn't get those codes. The reason is the deliverability we get from MailChimp is not as good as the deliverability we get from, say, Kickstarter, which is why we tell you but we can't send you the codes via Kickstarter because everybody would be able to see them. So go to the forum and go to the early access, the RPG Early Access sub-forum. Let me just give you a link to that sub-forum. If you can't get into that sub-forum, you need to mention at Lucy, and she will arrange your access and give you the codes you need. There is the forum. No worries.
Yeah, there was something about coupling up your email addresses as well, wasn't there?
Say again. What's that, Obo?
Sorry, I went a bit funny there. Yeah, was it not to do as well with making sure your email addresses were same on the two platforms?
Yeah, there's an element of that. So with regards to whether you're on the early access forum group or not, depends on whether your email address matches Kickstarter. We'll do another import of that as well to try and match. So yeah, what software will the the music course use? We haven't really got a music course quite slated yet. That's probably realistically going to be next year. So we'll re-evaluate what tools are available then. Is the YouTube channel cheaper from Kurt999? As in, Udemy, you'd have to buy each individual course. Do you think the YouTube channel will contain all the courses that are already on Udemy? So the YouTube channel does not yet contain all the courses that are on Udemy because we only want to add them as we, A, have the automation and the time to add them, and B, they need to fit in YouTube and not reference Udemy too much. So the RPG will be going there. The 3D Model Mastery course is already there, and Unreal is now shipping there as well. So, and we will continue to add some of the courses from the back catalogue, not as far back as the Unity course. That's too old to go there. The new Unity course will go there. Is it cheaper? Depends how many courses you buy. If you only buy one course from us ever, then no. If, like a lot of you want to support us and keep buying courses, then yeah, ultimately the YouTube channel may well become cheaper. Bear in mind, its long-term price will be $10 a month, but anybody who subscribes before the price goes up can keep it at the same price. So it really just depends how often. So say it's $10 a month, and you tend to be the sort of person who waits around until you can get a Udemy course for $10 on the rare occasion they drop it down to that price, then the question comes, do you buy a course a month, And the question comes, do you want the YouTube extra content that's there? Do you want the higher streaming quality that's there? Do you want to see how we develop in HDR when we release our first course that's in 4K HDR? So HDR is actually more exciting than 4K in many ways because that's a bigger visual impact I see on my PlayStation and PC than I do with 4K. So that's that. All right, guys, I'm going to start winding up soon. So thank you for all your questions. If we have any more voice questions, then that'd be cool.
I'm just wondering if by YouTube Premium, do you mean YouTube Red or is YouTube Premium something else?
So YouTube Premium is something else. YouTube Red lets you get rid of adverts across the whole of YouTube. Our channel has no adverts on any of our premium content, but you can only get hold of the premium content if you are a subscriber to our particular premium channel.
And how would one go about doing that?
You go to the channel URL, which I'll give you in a minute, and you just click subscribe. You get a 14-day free trial. And if you like what you see, and it's our job to keep pushing great content there, so you do like what you see, then YouTube will just charge you, at the moment, $4.99 a month, and it'll stay that forever unless you unsubscribe and resubscribe at a different price.
All right, coolio.
No worries. It'd be great to have you as a subscriber. I'm really excited about the long-term potential of YouTube. The thing is that they've really got to sort the country access out, because I mean Germany is one of our big markets and they can't even access in Germany. There's only 40 countries that it currently works in. So, but for those countries it does work in, you've got full YouTube quality streaming on all your mobile devices. It's just YouTube, right? And in the description you get all the same links as you get on Udemy. So you get the Q&A, you get access to the GitHub lecture code changes, So it's a similar experience. No quizzes yet on YouTube, and there may not be for a little while. But I think the two can work hand in hand in a lot of respects, especially if you're having streaming problems on Udemy.
I have kind of a Unity-specific request.
Okay.
The biggest stumbling block I've run into is dealing with rotations, how to rotate 2D objects, 3D objects, get angles. There are multiple commands to use, functions. A lot of it has been depreciated. Where can I go for information on that? Like, what's the best way to handle particular problems there?
we need to cover rotations better, so I take responsibility for that. That would be a prime candidate for some bonus YouTube videos. That's quite high up our list to get that out. In the meantime, if you're on the Unreal course or willing to get on the Unreal course, we covered in a little bit more detail there, especially when we get to the tank and its barrel and all the awkward things it does. The thing about rotations to get in mind is that they're non-commutative. So if we all want to play with our arms for a minute, what blokes wouldn't? If we sit on our chair for a minute and just stick your forearm just facing forward, facing the screen, for example. Now, if I say to you, bend at the elbow, so your hand comes up towards your face, right? And then, for example, rotate your wrist and see what position, and then maybe lift your arm, as in kind of from the arm being by the side to up. If I give you like 2 or 3 different rotations to do with your arm, the order you do them in matters. That's the weird thing about rotations. With translation, it doesn't, right? If I say go 2 miles north and then 3 miles east, it doesn't really matter which order you do it in. But with rotations, it does matter, and that's the main thing that screws people up. So it's really a question of understanding all the different rotational representations between Euler angles and quaternions, etc., and understanding which is best to use in which case. So that gimbal lock video is brilliant. That's good stuff. We need to put more rotational content into the courses. The Unity physics course would be a prime candidate for that, although I plan to redo that course altogether at some point because it's just in too old a version of Unity. It's great. It's content I'm very passionate about. It's just it feels like it needs a rework. So bear with us on that. And it's a great candidate for us to make more YouTube videos on. In the meanwhile, just do a YouTube search for understanding rotations and you will find some good videos out there. And also some good text documents. So hopefully that answers your question to some extent. Each different type of representation has different advantages. So you're particularly looking for content that tells you the difference and where it's useful and where it's not. No single rotational representation is ideal. In fact, let me just see if I can get you a link in the Game Engine Architecture book. To the chapter on Google Books that talks about this, because it has actually a pretty good overview. If I can't find it quickly, then what I suggest you do is have a search inside. I don't really have time to do it here, but have a search inside that book, and it's got a great section on the different rotational representations and how they all work. There's no one short answer to them. They're not too scary. You just need to play with them enough.
Connected question.
Yeah.
Do you have any sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Anything that would help explain quaternions, which are just horribly intimidating?
Yeah. So the first thing is please let go of the idea they're horribly intimidating. If you look at the maths, then you're dealing with 4 complex numbers, and it's a bit mind-boggling to get your head around. But if you get into Blender, for example, and just rotate some objects and look at you can ask for a quaternion representation in Blender, for example, and have a look at the quaternion representation. It sort of makes sense. good thing about quaternions is they interpolate nicely. So if you have something in one orientation and then you want to move it to another, it takes the line that you would expect. What as a human you would expect a rotation if I'm holding a pencil in one orientation, I want to move it to another. A quaternion does a sensible looking thing just by doing a difference between them, whereas Euler angles may not. They may do something really weird.
Right. Quaternions have something to do with time as an aspect of it, right? Instead of that's what makes it a
Sort of. I mean, again, without going into too much detail here, it's the difficulty is that a rotation is actually a four-dimensional concept that we have to think about projecting into a three-dimensional space. And it's when you try and think about it in a four-dimensional space, it does your head in.
Okay.
And that's the difficulty. So the answer is don't really try and think about it in a four-dimensional space. Just pick an angle representation that suits the task at hand and play with it enough to get a feel for how it works.
I gotcha.
One of the
It's
weird
magic.
things to
Just
watch
know
out
it
for.
works.
Sorry, say again.
I said I understand. It's magic. Just know it works.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's not. And at some point, I'd like you guys to understand it in depth. But it's kind of, you may not even find that quaternions are the best representation for what you're doing right now. So the place to start is somewhere like a game engine architecture book or any other blog or anywhere that you can find that people go through the different types of angle representations and what they're good and bad for. So start off getting the right angle representation for the task at hand, and then decide whether you want to tackle quaternions if that's the one in question.
Oh, great. Thank you.
No worries. I'm just busily trying to skirt around quaternions because the chance of me explaining quaternions in voice on this AMA without anybody's head exploding, including my own, is pretty minimal. So,
need a whiteboard.
Astro saying, do I have any tips for dealing with procrastination? I wouldn't bother, mate. I just put it off, for now. It's, I wouldn't bother dealing with that yet. No. So, no, in seriousness, procrastination is a pig, and it's actually a deep topic that's got... Firstly, don't beat yourself up, right? So this is the first thing. When I've procrastinated in the past, it can be for a couple of different, it can be for a lot of different reasons, but the things that I've noticed are, number one, sometimes it's a question of knowing whether you are procrastinating or preparing. So try and get used to the difference in feeling between procrastinating and preparing. Sometimes I'll be like, we need to record a video, and I do anything else but record the video. I go on the Tesla website, or I look up the news, or I go downstairs, or I go over the room and rotate the plant 3 degrees clockwise because that really mattered, or whatever, but anything but record the video. And sometimes I'm procrastinating because I'm scared that if I record the video, that it's going to be rubbish, or because I'm scared. And if it's because I'm scared, then I just need to do it anyway. It's like feel the fear and do it anyway, all that odd stuff. If it's because I'm not ready, I am not procrastinating but preparing, then then do something to prepare for whatever you're about to do. So whatever that thing is that you're about to do that you're putting off, maybe you're just not ready. Maybe that it's an undue risk at the moment. Maybe it doesn't feel like a big risk, but maybe it's a risk to your ego. Maybe it's a risk one way or the other. So there's a great TED talk. Do look at that. The Mind of the Procrastinator. He talks about the difference between the monkey and this. I can't remember the wording he uses, but he talks about a crazy monkey and an irrational mind instead. Do watch that TED talk. That is an awesome answer. So just get to know yourself a little bit better, and don't beat yourself up about it. That's the main thing, because that will lower your self-confidence and increase the chance you'll procrastinate. Anto Holland, congrats on the 2,000 students. Thank you. Will there be a large one-game course for Unreal like the Unity RPG? A large one-game course? At some point, there probably will. It's already kind of 3 large one-game courses, right? The Battle Tank's pretty huge, and Testing Grounds is getting even bigger. I think that's very likely in the long term. Yeah, the Spaceship Sim. It won't be a bigger game as you guys are hoping, this Spaceship Sim. We're honestly trying to produce as little as possible to make a space VR game in Unreal without going nuts. But long term, yeah, absolutely. We love Unreal, and I'm sure there'll be bigger courses. So the YouTube channel will have the RPG course, right? Yep, yes, it will. And when will the price rise on YouTube? Probably just after, I don't know, when the 3rd full course is on there. There you go. There's the answer to your question, Cliffman. So we've currently got the assets course, and Unreal is on its way. So when the 3rd full course is made it to YouTube, then we'll put the price up to $10 a month. And then we're not planning to increase it beyond 10. We want to make our content accessible in principle to people worldwide, rather than trying to fleece you for all you're worth. We'd rather you pay $10 a month and stay with us for years than every month have to go, is it worth it? Isn't it worth it? Will we be switching over to Visual Studio 2017 when it's released next week? Well, only if the engine... We will carry on as we are with what we're currently producing, so no, we won't make a special effort to upgrade to Visual Studio 2017. We want to keep the bar low for people. SciMac. We'll only worry about that when we start the installation lectures of a new course. So I'm going to take one more voice question if there are any, and then we need to wrap it up.
Ben, by the way.
Hey.
Yeah, I have still a question. The course of Unreal is Visual Studio 2015, I guess.
Yep.
I heard it. But can you still use like the newest version?
Can you use a newer version?
Yeah.
I believe you can. I haven't checked with Unreal recently. And Dan M, if he's still listening, might be to confirm in the lounge. But I think you can use a more recent version of Visual Studio. But is there a particular reason you want to use a more recent version?
Well, maybe it has newer features or something. I don't know. But it was only a question, you know.
Yeah, so I'm not 100%. Unreal do so much fiddling with their integration with the IDE in order to get all their header tools, pre-processor stuff going, that you're never quite sure what's compatible and what's not. So I don't know at the moment whether it's compatible with 2017. I'm afraid I would just use what they're shipping with, because that's what it's going to work most reliably with. Because it does a lot of black magic behind the scenes in order to do a load. It uses macros, for example, to replace a load of your code before it even compiles it. So G. Grant, is there any upcoming content on making open world games, either in Unreal or Unity? Open world, well, I mean, I would like to say yes, in that the Battle Tank game, it teaches you the fundamentals of an open world, but doesn't spend a huge amount of time building that world out. The Testing Grounds game is an infinite runner. It shows you how to make an infinite game that keeps going and going. And the Unity RPG course that's coming out later in the month, yeah, that's an open world game. So, yeah. Basically, there's a bunch of that. So I think we are pretty much there. Has anybody else got any other questions? Do remember to consider... sorry, say again.
This is Nick from Canada. I have a question about pacing. Sometimes when I go on to one of the challenges, I end up working too much on one specific thing and just adding more details, which doesn't progress me through it. How do you deal with the pacing?
And that's difficult, because sometimes you spend ages on one thing and you feel like you're not progressing, but actually that going deep and scratching your head is reorganizing your mental model and is actually making a lot more internal progress than you think you're making. So again, don't beat yourself up. If you spend longer on something, you could have faith that you're spending as long as you need to. The other option is just... Sorry, just elaborate a bit further. I might better help more.
No, this is someone else.
Okay. I was just... it was mostly just because sometimes I don't progress to new content, even though I've learned the other content. It just... If there was anything that if you've experienced this, or how you overcome that.
Why do you think you're not progressing to the new content? I think you won't be the only person with this question.
Well, mostly because I end up working on this same thing, or then once I do understand it, I start adding more to that one concept rather than introducing new or going onto new content and or
why,
at least.
And why do you think that's a problem?
I think I don't know. It just feels like sometimes it makes I don't progress as fast as I should.
Okay, but would it be better to get to the end of the course having consumed all the content and made no modifications or of your own or added none of your own flair to it, or would it be better to get halfway through the course and have gone really deep and given your own spin to all of the projects?
True.
So I think the point is that both approaches work really well, and we see a lot of people not doing what you're doing, which is spend the time to embed the knowledge. So, you've got time. I would focus on shipping games if I were you. Ship really simple games, at least to your friends and family, ideally to some sort of asset store.
Okay, thank you.
And keep the projects simple. Keep them simple. And build on top of complete knowledge, i.e., the ability to ship a complete game rather than just deep theoretical knowledge. Cool. So I think we're pretty much there. So thank you very much, everybody. I don't, Anto, have any particular must-read books for a one-man indie dev team, I'm afraid. And please join our mailing list, because we totally underuse our mailing list, and we respect people's emails so much that we hardly use the mail list. But if there are any big announcements and we can't reach you by any other means, then that would be a great place for us to communicate with you. Don't expect to get much from us, though. Thank you very much for being a great active community. This will be available on the YouTube Premium channel, so if you want to watch this back again, then go over there, get your 14-day trial. It's under the live streams and AMA sections. And yeah, 1,000 people online at the same time. How cool is that? 1,016. Wow. So awesome, guys. Love you all, and we'll see you when we do the next one of these things.
We're going to need another link.
What's that? You're going to need another link. Oh, is that the wrong link? Hang on 2 seconds. Let me give you a different link. That is a totally stuffed link. That one's worse. Let me give you one that actually works. Aha! There you go. Thank you very much for telling me that I give you a stuffed link. There you go. Awesome, guys. Thank you. And we'll see you on the next one of these.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Love it.
See you guys.